I'll move and Deputy Mayor would like to second. And then if you want any questions on the recs, or we can go straight to speaking to the item. Councillor Newman.
Thank you for what's just been circulated. I was quite happy for TMPs for events over 10,000, but now we've got consideration of appropriate TMPs. I mean, for medium events, what's medium events?
It's in the definition of 10 to 30 in the government definition.
In the Insight report, medium events are determined to be between 10 and 30,000.
So we're comfortable with that. What about frequency of the events?
So I'll just say with this, so basically, obviously we had the recommendations from staff, which is essentially just accept the advice. And then we worked with the Mayor's Office and the Deputy Mayor's Office just to get a flavour, essentially supporting Eden Park, supporting more events, but putting in for the Minister to consider these things. He or they may not consider any of these things, but we think it's important for them to consider the types of effects on events. I don't know if it's helpful to put numbers up or whatever that is, and Nick has obviously said that they're not looking to ever fill the quota. Councillor Gillen.
Thank you. Can I suggest that you strike out B because that's actually redundant because that's what we're already doing. And with C, the way I would read that is that we are agreeing to include the feedback from the local board as part of our feedback, which actually means that we are endorsing it, incorporating it as part of our feedback. And earlier on we were advised that is the resolution that's going through as our feedback. So that brings all that into our resolution is how I would read that.
No, that's not correct. So governing body,
It's reworded.
governing body under, so all submissions, say to the fast track or treaty principles bill or whatever, we, governing body, vote our position and then we append the local board submissions. That's under, we're not saying we endorse, we're
Agree
including.
to include the local feedback as part of our feedback.
Yeah, so,
So
that's how the
So it's now
process
part of our
works.
feedback.
That's standard for all.
Oh, if I was the minister, I wouldn't read it as that.
Yeah, because we only are able to put in a submission from the council family, so we must append the relevant local boards.
Then use the word append. And my other point is that we're not actually commenting on much here. It's pretty high level, just asking to consider things. But I mean, where's our view on the Sundays and the extended hours and all the things that are raised in section 16? Are we commenting on any of that?
Well, this is the recommendations from the chair, so we can go into a debate, and if people want to put amendments up, they can, but we're essentially saying that we understand the process we have, and we want the minister to consider these things for future events.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe it's debate then, but we're not really saying much. That's all. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Turner.
Just on the back of Councillor Gillen, yeah, it was my take that the local board were not as bullish, if that's the right word, as the governing body for the support. That's the feeling I got. And if we were to, so this is really just a kind of a guide that we're giving. So if we were to do that and include C, that would kind of water down the thrust of what we're trying to do here to the reader, wouldn't you think? So I just wanted to back up what he said, really, I think.
Yeah, and I'll just repeat what I said. So standard procedure, so you might remember the RMA bill, the National Policy Statement for Fresh Water, the fast track. We gave our feedback as a governing body and then agree to include all the local boards. This time it's just one local board, but normally we would put 21 local boards, different feedback, which may all contradict each other, but that's how the Auckland Super City system works. They aren't putting in their own separate feedback because we're one council.
Yeah, I agree. We sit side by side, not vertically, so we suppose we have to do that. Okay, thank you.
Questions? Okay. Last question, Councillor Lee.
So, obviously Eden Park is a significant amenity for Auckland and the country. I have something of a history with Eden Park. But I'm concerned here that we also have an obligation to our community. And so we have a report from the Ministry for the Environment, and obviously we're reporting to not the Minister for the Environment, the Honourable Penny Simmons, but to another minister altogether. So that's the first question. It's an unusual process, is it not? So could that be explained why we have the Ministry for the Environment being involved, and yet we have the final arbiter as the Minister for Resource Management Act reform of all things? I don't know how that works with Eden Park, but anyway.
Councillor Lee, my understanding is that the Minister for Resource Management Reform has taken certain accountabilities that would normally be from the Minister for the Environment within his responsibility. It may help to have Karina just clarify that. We have asked that question of the Ministry before, but the Minister for Resource Management Reform is able to take over some of those responsibilities and effectively speak on behalf of the Minister for the Environment, but it's probably not quite the right language, so Karina, can you assist a bit further? Because we have had some feedback on that previously, not for the specific item.
Through the Chair, as I understand it, Section 9 of the Constitution Act is used, and under that power, the Minister can exercise the powers of the Minister for the Environment.
Okay, we'll leave that. Now we come to the recommendations, which don't seem to be any recommendations at all. It's just kind of historical matters or restating facts. And I don't think, for instance, in terms of the local board feedback, that was tangible and carefully thought through. Why aren't we recommending or endorsing that rather than just adding it on? Have a look at this. We have no view on it, it seems. Have a look at this extra bit of paper. Should we not be endorsing the local board's approach here?
I think that's more of a that's more of a debating point, Councillor Lee, not a question. We always append the relevant local boards' submissions if they're going to government. This is a bit different. This is not a submission to a bill. This is a proposal that's happening that we are giving advice to the Minister on what they could consider.
You see, the first statement, D1, Auckland Council acknowledges blah, 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 including local vibrancy and cultural connection. I'm not too sure what that actually means, but I think we need to be concerned about not local vibrancy as such, but local vibrations from the
So these are
fireworks, heavy metal rock concerts, helicopters. That's something we should be considering, surely, not just vibrancy.
Yep, and that's why we've put noise management plan can be considered by the Minister. These are debating points, Councillor Lee, so if you'd like a speaking turn, I can put you on the list. These aren't questions.
You see, bear with me, Mr. Chairman. I get the impression that the Ministry, probably with the Minister for RMA reform, seems to be involved with everything, have actually come up with a significant deregulation of the original agreement. It was a 2004 agreement, which is a compromise between the wishes of the community and the needs of Eden Park. And they've substantially given away all those protections, reduce those protections that the community won. I would expect for them to be
Councillor
pushing,
Lee,
for us to
Councillor
be
Lee.
pushing back a bit and say, well,
Once again, this is
I can't see any of that.
that's a debating point. So I will stop. I will go to see if anyone else has questions, then I'll go to debate, and you can start off if you'd like. Are there any other questions? Right, Councillor Lee, would you like to speak to the resolutions?
I'll just ask one more question. But by coincidence, and with the involvement of the said Minister for RMA reform and everything else by the look of it, this particular area is a hot zone for high-rise intensification, so we're expecting thousands of more people to move into this area. So is there not concerns about us inadvertently or perhaps deliberately manufacturing reverse sensitivity effects here? I mean, it's going to... I get complaints from people who live quite away from Eden Park occasionally if there's a particularly egregious heavy metal concert. But surely we're going to expect more problems if we go along with this completely. Shouldn't there be some sort of compromise hammered out? Isn't that the way you meant to do things?
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? No, we're into comments. Councillor Baker.
Yep, and so, look, I think there's a number of things, and so I think what's, as you sort of alluded to in your amended recommendations, the TMP is actually something that we can address once we get a little bit of power back from what Auckland Transport do, because we will be able to set an event TMP policy. And so it's not just TMPs for regular events at a place like Eden Park, it's about TMPs and the approach to events in, for Anzac Day services, for Christmas parades, things that most local events fall over now because of the cost of TMP and council. And so there's an ability for us to deal with the TMP costs through post-March 2026 things going to plan. So, I don't think that's a hugie, but it's a good thing to notice. I actually think we need to make some tough decisions here. We need to either decide, are we going to accept, Eden Park 2.1 and get on board with that, or are we going to continue to muddle along and sort of let them exist, doing small events here, big events there, but actually having no real future in front of them? We accepted and endorsed Eden Park 2.1. And yet we have these things we just keep throwing in front of them that make it hard for them to actually do what we want them to do. And so I think we actually need to make some hard decisions at some stage about how well and how much we are going to support Eden Park or not. And, there's a great opportunity. Yes, Plan Change 120 will provide some ability to do some, lifting potentially of the residential intensity, but there's also abilities for us to look at a wider precinct around Eden Park at some stage, where there's some area there that is just crying out for some change, to allow hotels, to allow high-rise apartments, do things in there that actually support the stadium that hosts the largest events in the country and provide such a big fillip to not only the local businesses in Kingsland and Morningside and around that area, but for the whole city. And you can argue all we like about the written economics, and you'll see economists all agreeing or disagreeing and having a different view. The fact is, it lifts hotel patronage, it lifts hospitality patronage, it raises the feeling of greatness and wonder in the city. People enjoy the events that are held there. So I think, we keep fluffing around with Eden Park. We've accepted 2.1. It's our number one venue. It's the number one venue in the country. We've got to start making some decisions that actually support that and give it the kick along that it needs, in my view. So, I am hoping if the minister wasn't interested in doing that, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Obviously, there is a government desire to see Eden Park put up there where it should be. And so I just think that we need to get on with it, and either, if we're not going to do anything, we're not going to accept Eden Park as our major event venue, then so be it, but I don't think we should. I think we should be doing everything we can as a council to support the place, to actually get more events into Auckland and just get on with it, you know, because we are fluffing around.
Kia ora, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Ferry.
Kia ora. Sorry, I hadn't expected it to come to me so quickly. So I think we've struck a bit of a balance here between acknowledging the benefits and also acknowledging the impacts for the community. I think we heard a bit from the local board chair about, and amongst some other stuff, I asked specifically about the issue with the split response from the community, and that is something that I have experienced too, is that even people who are fully supportive of the proposal as it stands are seeking some kind of, management of that. That's part of the expectation. So I think the fact that we've called out some of those opportunities there is helpful, and shows that we have, we haven't actually haven't had a lot of time to think about this. We haven't had time to workshop it. You heard in the questions that I asked about some of the limitations in terms of the sound advice, for example. There hasn't been time to go back and forth and really interrogate it. So I think this is a sensible way forward, and I'll be supporting it. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you. Are there any other speakers? Deputy Mayor. Deputy, Councillor Watson.
I obviously, I'm sympathetic to the position of Eden Park, and we did make a decision earlier in the year in respect of endorsing that proposal, 2.1 or pi squared or whatever it is, and that's a proposal that is designed to increase the content that Eden Park puts on, not just concerts but sports. And the question I brought up, it seems to me when I look at the status quo that there really does need to be quite a significant shift there, because we just have way more nighttime events now. Most sport, because of programming and television viewer audience and stuff, is nighttime games now. They don't play games in the afternoons, as was the case back in earlier decades. So if they are going to maximise that investment that hopefully comes along, then they're going to have to be far more enabled than they are at the moment. It's actually it is very restrictive. 25 nighttime games over a 12-month period. If you're taking on the number of codes that they're hoping to do, essentially 8, if you differentiate male and female codes, that's a quantum leap of what's been the case in the past. So if we are to enable them, then there obviously has to be changes. I'm a little bemused by the concentration on traffic management plans and whatnot. They've been putting on those plans for all size crowds for about 30 years now. I think they know how to run traffic management, getting to and from Eden Park. I think they've got that pretty well nailed. Certainly in my experience, generally it's very good. So any kind of relief that can be given to these plans that are just repetitive and expensive, that's to me, that's just common sense. I would agree, however, so that's my starting point. I endorse enabling more events, taking away some of the restrictions that seem to me to be a little punitive in terms of the fact we're in 2025 now, but also I think as Councillor Lee alluded to, that there isn't room left for negotiation here. There are residents who live around there. My impression has always been that Eden Park goes out of their way to cultivate really good relationships with those people. They really try hard to get them on board, because obviously they don't want complaints. So they've been a good entity to deal with. However, I think we are the council. We're also duty bound to ensure that our residents that live there are protected, so that's not just open season, because things can change. So in this process, and I think some of these resolutions do that, it opens up that there are concerns with noise, with curfew hour, and those other specifics that we really haven't had time to drill down on. They're quite technical. That is also incorporated in our resolution. So it is a win-win situation. It's not just open slather. There are people who live around there that you want on board. Many whom are, but if we go to the level that's being indicated here, then that balance is changing from what we have at present, which is a bit more managed and not as frequent. Stadiums, by the very nature, often not used, for much big chunks of the year actually. But this is looking to turbocharge things a bit, and understandably so. So I think the resolutions kind of make that balance. There's a lot of implied stuff in here that the implication is that there are going to be negotiations or there are going to be further investigations. But I guess from my perspective, number one, I'm signalling support of the request from Eden Park to enable itself to be far more competitive economically and to put on more content. But I'm also trying to be mindful of the fact that I want to bring the residents along with them too. It's not just, way you go boys, all the best.
Kia ora, Councillor, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Chair. Look, I think we all know that events at Eden Park generate economic benefit for our region. So let's just take us back and look at what we're doing here. So the government commissioned a report to see whether our planning restrictions were hurting that economic growth. And what that report found was that that our restrictions on Eden Park's operation will cost our region at least $432 million in lost income, with over 750 fewer jobs over the next few years unless changes were made. Now, if you support economic growth in Auckland, if you support cutting red tape to make Eden Park reach a greater level of performance for our region, I believe we need to feedback positively on what the government is asking us for. I was very impressed with the University of Auckland's report, the economic contribution of Eden Park to the Auckland region, where they say that a typical large concert adds about 8.3 million to Auckland's GDP and supports about 114 full-time jobs. In the last 3 years, concerts at Eden Park contributed 33.7 million to our GDP, over just under half a million attendees, 40% of those outside the Auckland region. We know at Metallica, 70% of those people who attended were from outside Auckland. We need to do everything we can to cut that red tape and let it maximise its potential. At the end of the day, though, the decision on Eden Park rests with the Minister, not us. So I believe we need to be positive and support one of our greatest assets in the city to be the best it can and develop economic opportunity to this region, and I think these recommendations assist with that. Thank you.
Kia ora, Deputy Mayor, thank you. Councillor Gillen.
Thank you. I'm going to move a replacement, and I'm just going to send it through now, see if it works, and see if I can still see it. To replace B, I mentioned before B's redundant, so not needed, but to replace B with agree to include the Auckland Council Noise Review, which is attachment C, and the Auckland Council Review of Economic Impact Assessment, attachment D, as part of the Policy Planning and Development Committee's feedback to the Minister of Resource Management Act reform. And I've used the same wording that has been indicated is going to be used to include the local board feedback as an appending item, even though it actually says include. Really, that should also be pending. But I think it's important to include those in there, because otherwise we actually, in this, I'm just speaking to the member then, in this feedback we have here, while it's all okay, It doesn't actually say anything. It doesn't provide the views of this committee, which is actually what we've been asked to provide by the Minister. And so if we are just going to pass over to him, or please consider the following, well, then we should also pass over the information that we've been given to consider as well. Thank you.
Do you have a seconder? Otherwise, Deputy Mayor, are you fine to include? I mean, it's on public record. Do you have a seconder, and then we'll just... Okay, yeah. All those in favour? Or anyone want to debate the amendment? Sorry. Councillor Filipainen.
I just want to clarify that the attachments are just the C, D. What about F? What about any other attachments? Is this the only two, John? I know we've got attachment F as well, and do you want to put that one in and any others that are in the bulk of the report?
Sorry, F's already included.
Yeah.
Referred to.
I think the C is the local.
A, the Minister already has. E
And
is
what was
the
that?
feedback from the local board. I don't think it's necessary, but happy to if the meeting would like me to.
Because, Chair, I just want to clarify, speaking to the amendment, if it's not carried by the mover and the seconder as part of the recommendation, is recommendation C, what is that one currently? I know this relates to B.
He's just replacing B because he thinks B
Yeah.
is irrelevant. B was in the paper, not from
Right.
the chair.
So that's why, are we including all the other attachments or just those two?
You'll have to ask the mover. If this replaces B, F and the local board as attachments are already included in the resolutions. Yeah. Right, any other? Councillor Foley.
Kia ora, thanks, Chair. Look, I tautoko, I guess, the amendment, and, you know, because I understand, I think, what Councillor Gillen is saying, he wants us to have a more explicit statement, I think, that says that we support Eden Park, we support the flexibility they're asking for, and we're trying to send that very strong message to the Minister. And I think that's what some of the concerns being raised by others is that perhaps the resolution as it is, Chair's recommendations, doesn't quite say it as explicitly or as strongly as some of us want to say that. I tautoko the very strong sentiment shared by Councillor Baker and also the Deputy Mayor on our position. I sympathise as well with what the local board has told us too, and what the Chair, the concerns that she raised. I absolutely sympathise with them as the local board for the area. But like many of us have said, we can't deny the economic benefits to our city that Eden Park brings, and the potential further economic benefits that will come if those constraints are loosened somewhat by the Minister. And I just want to share that after the Metallica concert, the next day and the day after that on the weekend in Sylvia Park, which is quite a way away from Eden Park, I saw lots of people shopping with their black Metallica t-shirts, hands full of shopping bags. So the benefit flows right across our city. And if I can talk as well about the Matamata Tonga game, the Tongan game, we all know what the Tongan fans are like. Previously, they used to have to travel to Hamilton for their games. Having the game at Eden Park meant that we kept that economic benefit for the bars and for the restaurants around that area in Auckland. So for all of those reasons, I tautoko and I support this recommendation. And I would have backed as well a slightly stronger statement in there to say to the Minister, in no uncertain terms, that we do back Eden Park's opening up and flexibility and all of those things. Kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you, Councillor. We're just speaking to the amendment at the moment. Councillor Newman. No. Councillor Henderson to this amendment?
Not to the amendment, Chair.
So, okay, right. All those in favour of the amendment? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, cool. That has been passed. Thank you. I'm back to the speaking to the. All right. Okay, Councillor Henderson. Sorry, to the substantive.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I don't know how you feel about this, Chair. I'm just listening to the debate really carefully, and I note that every speaker so far is supporting more events at Eden Park as a general principle. And I'm just wondering if you wanted to incorporate some language to reflect that a little bit stronger. I didn't get the chance to sort of actually draft it for you, but yeah, I just wanted to put that to your consideration, Chair. It might be something we might want to incorporate because no one seems to be disagreeing.
Right. Yeah. So before, would it be after C?
Yeah, that would work.
So, sorry, some words. Auckland. Can you tell us where we're putting it? So it would be after C. Well, sorry, after endorse the following feedback. So it would be D1. It would be the first item.
Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot here. It's not good practice from me, but
in principle, Auckland Council supports more events at Eden Park.
yeah, that works.
Yeah, sorry, I thought that was explicit through working with the minister on the permitted standards, etc. But
yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that, Chair. Thanks.
and we'll just myself and the deputy mayor are fine to incorporate. So. Oh, sorry, the things got moved around. Sorry, I'm seeing the new, I don't have the normal list. So I'll go back to Councillor Henderson. Is that all you would like to say in your speaking turn? Because that was your speaking turn as well.
That's all. Now I'm happy, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Newman, sorry.
Chair, I mean, when I first came here, I quickly discovered that there was this, almost like this entrenched body of opinion that was deeply suspicious of Eden Park. I used to come here and I used to get a knot in my stomach because the way in which they were received, and I can remember some of the comments that were expressed to people like Doug Mackay, it was really it was almost confrontational. That's how I felt anyway. And that they were almost perceived to be the opposition, the competitors to the council, as opposed to being New Zealand's national stadium. And so I think we've come quite a long way. I felt in the last term that we wasted more than a year arguing, looking at options for waterfront stadia, which was just, it was so tedious and so pointless and such a circular discussion which was always going to lead back to Eden Park. Now, I listened carefully to the feedback that I was able to hear from the local board, and I get the concern. But here's the thing: Eden Park didn't just get established a year ago. It's 100 years old. In fact, I think the first Test match was played at Eden Park more than 100 years ago. Morris Williamson might remember it, but I don't. The issue is around the content. Of course, it's not just the content. One of the concerns that the residents will have is the frequency for which some of those night events will occur. And I think there is a need to try and address that. But here's the thing, Chair, regardless of the feedback from today, I actually think the government will do what it wants and will largely ignore it, because if the government is invested in improving Eden Park, and if it wants to potentially invest in it, which I hope it does, it will want to get the maximum return out of the content as an economic argument. So I think that's important. So notwithstanding whatever feedback you present, Chair, I think the council should accept that if we are to achieve progress towards Eden Park 2.1, you may find that the conditions for its operation in the future might be very confronting to that community. but maybe that will have to be something that is accepted, and if it is accepted by us, then we will have to defend it to the local board and to the community that is affected by, people going to and from the concerts or the sports events, whether they are driving, walking, or however they get there. That will be an adverse effect, and it will just have to be something that is worn. I'm hoping that you can negotiate your way through this, but if the government is to come to the party and invest in 2.1, they will want, I suspect, fairly permissive rules for the operation of that stadia. Thank you.
Kia ora, Councillor. Thank you. The next person is Councillor Foley. Would you like to speak again to the substantive?
Thank you, Chair. It's all right. I've said what I need to say. Kia ora.
Councillor Filipaina? No? Okay. Sorry. I'm getting used to the new system. Are there any other speakers to... Councillor Fletcher, sorry.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I'm genuinely excited to speak to this today because, as suggested from when he joined council, it was a bit difficult trying to bring Eden Park into discussion. Yesterday I was listening to Talkback Radio for a short time, and Matt Heath was on, and he was talking about New Zealand. And what that was in terms of people being naysayers. And nothing represents that more to me than the way that we have treated Eden Park over a long period of time. And yes, it was frustrating watching the whole of the work that was undertaken around stadia last year, and I commend the chair of that working group because there was an inevitability to the fact we were going to come back. It was a bit like follow the yellow brick road and you'll eventually get to Eden Park. Well, we've got there now, and hopefully with today we are going to put a stop to the pettiness that has existed in terms of trying to consider Eden Park. If you go way back, you think of all the champions we've had. Some of you will remember events with the Rayard Cheese of the world, and they'd say, gosh, there's so much we could be doing here. I remember when we launched Auckland's first art festival. That was back in 2000, and we wanted to use Eden Park then for things, but we couldn't. It was just so super frustrating. We all know we need to generate economic activity, and I cannot think of a better place to be a symbol for that than Eden Park. The mood has changed. So in response to those that are worried, and yes, the community, there will always be some in the community that are going to find objection to this, but the mood for the 45 years that I've lived there has changed dramatically. People are welcoming of it now because they know that their children and their grandchildren are going to get employment from Eden Park. They know all of the other benefits that will come in the prosperity in and around the businesses nearby to Eden Park. And how did we get there? You know, we got there because we've had champions. And so I just want to pause for a moment and talk about the role that Nick Saunter has played. A lot of people didn't really welcome him as CEO. There was criticism of him and work he'd done in Australia and so forth. But he has firmly put Eden Park on the map. He has firmly championed Eden Park. I'd like to talk about some of the personalities as well. You know, you've got Phil Clark down in Kingsland. He, for those of you who've been to well, over COVID it closed, it was a restaurant in the evenings, but the Kingslander Social. You've got all these champions, these chefs, these entrepreneurial individuals who could see that opportunity and really just implored us and encouraged us to actually try and do what we could in terms of advocacy for more events to be held in Eden Park. And it's not just food and beverages, it's flowers, it's gift shops, it's all manner of other creative initiatives that people can come up with. I think this is going to give us confidence in ourselves. It is our national stadia, and just as when I think of Auckland and the waterfront being this Auckland, I think of Eden Park as being that generator of cultural and excitement and fun activities. So for too long, I think New Zealand has been held back. The mood is right. Timing is everything in politics, and I think the timing on this one is important. But for a hell of a long time, the only measure of economic activity has been how well the building materials sector is doing. I think the new measure might be just how many concerts and how many fun parties we can have. And that is something that I think everyone sitting around the table and supporting this today can actually take some credit for. And it's one of those things that we have finally put off the table, the waterfront stadia and the paralysis that locked us into doing nothing. And we've got something really positive today. It is important that everybody's been allowed to express their views, but the overwhelming message that I would like to send today is Eden Park, we've got your back. We are supporting you. We think you're going to be a great part of our future. Thanks.
Kia ora, Councillor. Any last speakers before I wrap up? Just checking. Cool, thank you. No, just obviously thank you to Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ferry and the team for working on these resolutions. We're just trying to get, we assume this is going to happen. We assume there'll be more events and we're glad to see them, but we also need to think about what provisions and to help the minister or the ministry or whoever's writing these provisions to make sure that the community is considered, safety is considered, and how we move forward. Many of these things are done really well already, but we know that a significant uptick in these will create different types of stresses and strains on the infrastructure and the community. Also got the Mayor's very salient point about the bed night levy in there, because that will help us with the major issue of attraction. We do not have the budgets of our cousins over the ditch in those state governments that put tens of millions into these types of events. They put millions just attracting them. We do not have those budgets, and we know a bed night levy will be able to help lift up us to that level, and we'll be able to attract those fantastic events into our stadium and our other stadiums, but also help this city thrive. With the City Rail link opening and with Plan Change 120, this area of Auckland is going to change a lot, and we do need to make sure there are the jobs, there's the creative sector, there's the sports, the arts, the concerts that are happening and bringing people into the city. We did see last week with Metallica and Tool and everything else going on, the streets were full of people. The city felt safer. There were people on the public transport enjoying the sun, enjoying our parks and civic spaces. And the hotels were full too. So that's exactly what we need. This is another piece of the puzzle of creating a very exciting, vibrant city for people of all ages, and hopefully keeping more people in our city as well. So all those in favour? Is there anyone who'd like to oppose this? No. Would you like your name recorded, Councillor? Councillor Lee would like his name recorded. Anyone else? Cool. Are there any abstentions? Didn't think so. Thank you. Right, now we move on to the... Back to 8.3. Who's coming up? Is